Welcome back to the Rhode Show this morning. In the buzz this morning, a uniform battle is underway. This is really interesting.
Yeah.
The school year is quickly approaching, believe it or not. And Rhode Island chapter of the ACLU is challenging the Woonsocket School District's new uniform policy. Now, again, Woonsocket, public school, not a private school as you normally would think of uniforms to go with. The school committee says the General Assembly approved a bill last year giving Woonsocket schools the authority to test the new policy based on research about academic improvements. The new uniform allows students to wear maroon or gray shirts with no writing on them other than the school logo, and then khaki or black pants. But a lot of parents say they're not happy about the change. Take a look.
It takes away their individuality. They're all the students are gonna look the same, basically. I believe that if steps would have been taken to enforce the dress code, we wouldn't be where we are today.
We did a lot of research on districts where there are school uniforms. Test scores seem to be improved. Discipline goes down. There won't be any jealousy over who's wearing what type of clothing or if certain families can't afford brand name clothing.
First of all, you can always tell, because then there'll be some girls who have the designer, handbags that they're bringing, or they'll break out like the MAC makeup or something. Excuse me. You can always, there's always a delineation. So there's no way to wipe. It's a nice idea to wipe it clean of different socioeconomic classes. It's just not, in my opinion. IMHO. It's not realistic, in my humble opinion.
You stole what I was going to say, so I got nothing.
Oh, sorry.
No. I completely agree. I think, I mean, the pretty sassy girls, like from the movie Mean Girls, are still going to find a way to, sass up their outfit.
Right.
The nerds are still going to be, the nerdy guys. The jocks are still going to be the jocks.
Yeah.
It's not going to differentiate anything. I went to Hendricken. I went to Cranston East for a year, and then I transferred to Hendricken for 3 years, which I loved. But, I mean, we're supposed to have ties on and be nice, and we normally were. But, I mean, the goofballs were still the goofballs. The smart kids were still... I didn't think it really made a difference. Apparently these test scores say they do, but I also think it makes a huge difference if it's a public or private school. I mean... Yeah, well, there's a different different socioeconomic group typically that can afford to send their kids to a private school. A lot of times those parents are very involved and, don't have to work night jobs and can sit down with their kids and go over homework. And another thing, my behavior increased dramatically and got a lot better when I went to Hendricken, just for the fact that I'm at a private school now. That's one thing, but I know my parents are working pretty hard to send me here. And the last thing I need is to, I didn't need that.
What do you...
Well, I'm almost kind of amazing. There's something very in common with Ben. I went to Barrington High School for my freshman year. Then I went to PCD for 10th, 11th, and 12th. There was no uniform at PCD, but there was a dress code. You had to wear a collared shirt. You had to wear shoes. You had to wear pants. You couldn't wear jeans.
There's no going pantsless to class when you go to PCD.
I'm saying,
as soon as you take your pants off in history, that's a hassle.
Sorry, you were saying.
Okay.
So there's a dress code.
Right. And actually, when I found out years later, when I went back to speak at PCD as a distinguished alum.
Of course.
Like, you know what that's like when you go back to your high school and you speak.
I am.
Doing that.
August 31st.
No, August 31st. I was disappointed to find out that there's no more dress code. And
very
I was like,
interesting.
wow. I said, look at that. I mean, it just kind of looked like it kind of took away from the whole, like, not the reason. I didn't go to PCD.
No, but there's a certain refinement.
Right, and it's like, it kept you, what's the word I'm looking for?
There's certain boundaries. There's certain boundaries that you have to stay
Yeah, and I was a little disappointed that they'd kind of done away with that. But the reason why I went to private school was not because of the dress code. It's because at Barrington High School I couldn't focus when there was, 15 girls and 15 guys in the class. I was spending more time talking to the girls than I was listening to the teachers. So I went to PCD, which was all boys, which is now co-ed, which even disappoints me more because I think that it kind of take away the meaning of that school.
Well, and there's a different reason for dressing up. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. I want to throw it over to Melissa because, Melissa, the school district is saying, listen, this is going to save parents money. It's going to help with discipline issues. And it really doesn't seem too restrictive in terms of the uniform. You can still, have your 15 pieces of flair or whatever it is.
Your bling, right?
Your bling.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's an outlandish request. I went to a private school, so of course we were required to wear uniforms. I found it kind of nice because you always knew what you were going to wear. There was never, a thought about what you had to wear in the morning. You just knew what you were wearing, so it made it easier for me at least. Let's head on over to the live blog right now and see what some of our bloggers have to say this morning. Erin S. says, I like the idea. I've seen how the high school and middle school girls dress around my neighborhood. I'd kill my kids before letting them out like that. And Joseph Butera says, I like the idea of uniforms in public schools, but I do think the kids' rights have been violated. Good idea, but not acceptable. And in case you're just joining us this morning, I posted today's Buzz Poll question on foxprovidence.com. Today we're asking, what do you think of the new school uniform policy in Woonsocket? Your choices are A, it's good, kids will be more focused, or B, it's taking away the kids' individuality. And our friends on Facebook are weighing in this morning. Carissa says, I think kids should be able to wear what they want to school. And Adam says it eliminates the need for teachers to police what the kids are wearing and concentrate on actually teaching. And Kate writes, my son has had uniforms for all his school life. We found that our clothing bill has been far cheaper than other kids who go to schools that don't require them. So a lot of great comments this morning from our Facebook friends and bloggers. I'll be back at the end of the show with your web poll results. But for now, let's